So everything is ready to begin the Sutta study for today. Friends, as you know, we have been discussing about Paticca Last 2 weeks, we had a nice presentation from different friends and question and concern that colored the session. So we are going to take the piece of Dhamma from the Paticca to make the same impression on today's discussion. The topic I created for today's session is realization of Paticca to end dukkha. Under that, we are going to collect all the information according to our understanding and see what the Buddha said about ending dukkha by understanding Paticca. This is a very general topic, so that we need to select specific things from Paticca. Last week we were able to discuss about avijja and avijja, how avijja create the problem worse by giving it support to other factors of the 11 links, including immediate results of avijja, sankara, and then we discuss how avijja is there to help all the other links of the Paticca. So I'm very much interested in discussing Vijnana, Namarupa, and then Salayatana, Phassa, because they are very subtle. They are very deep, as the way the Buddha said, they are very deep, and of course they are deep indeed. But try to make a kind of simple conversation on that, so that we all understand what they do in the cycle. As we discussed last 2 weeks, there are a couple of cycles here. One cycle is how suffering arises. If you want to say, it is the way the Buddha explained how suffering arises, not necessarily a cycle. In a cycle, you have everything, but that is how the suffering come into exist, starting from avijja, and then at the end you have Jaati, Jara, Vyadhi, Marana, Soka, Parideva. So that is one main aspect of Paticca. The other aspect of Paticca in that is to show us how suffering is ending, how suffering is done with. So starting from again avijja, there is not anymore. So when the avijja is not anymore, there is no sankara geared by avijja. There is no vijnana, no namarupa, no salayatana, no any other links supported by avijja. I just want to make this point that consciousness sankara has been frozen very much in Arhan's mind. When you destroy avijja completely, the Arhan, that person is called Arhans. So in Arhan's mind, the sankara is ceased, sankara is stopped. What kind of sankara is that? Punyabi sankara, aninjabi sankara. So sankara is not colored with any of those things. But he has some sankara. Kaya sankara is there, vachi sankara, chitta sankara, there, but they are not misled by ignorance. Until the Arhants attain to Parinirvana, we don't call it death, because there is no legitimate reason for us to call it death. It is called Parinibbana. So until that moment, he or she has sankara. They are not sankara, as we talk in general sense. They are fundamental construction of the human body and mind. Then vijnana is there, but vijnana is called anidarsana vijnana of an arhan, which means in that vijnana, there is no any link to continuous samsara. In that vijnana, there are no things happen. It's a very bare vijnana. And then nam rupa, salayatana, passa, they are working as fundamental nature of an arahant. Therefore, there is no craving for feeling. Of course, arahants have feeling, but they are not attached to, they are not taken as something valuable or invaluable, or any sort of conception is not there by the arahants, so that there is no tanha, no upadana, no birth, no jara, vyadhi, marana, in the sense normal humans consider. But their physical body is experiencing deterioration, and there is no death at all for arahants, because death is always coupled with rebirth. Since arahants never have a rebirth, they are not going to die either. So what I was explaining is that we have one order, and that order is how suffering arises, and we have another order. In that order, Buddha explained how suffering is ceased. So friends, what we need to understand to end suffering in the Paticcasamuppada, today I focus Vijnana, Nam Rupa Salayatana Passa. Friends, Vijnana, as we talk about consciousness, as we talk about Vijnana in English, consciousness, it is something always arising and passing. In other words, consciousness or Vijnana has the nature of arising and passing. But is that all people understand? Is that all Buddha talk about? Don't you think that the Vijnana is going away from this body when the death happens and established somewhere else? And we call traveling consciousness, or pratisandhi Vijnana, the Vijnana that is seeking a next birth and gets next birth. So people are to discuss that this is different. But friends, according to Mahanidana Sutta of the Digha Nikaya, the conscious mind or Vijnana is same as at every places. The Vijnana that we have when we see pictures is same as with the Vijnana that leaves from this body and hold on to another life. There is nothing change. There is no difference of that. The same Vijnana is talked about depending on the context. So Vijnana is basically the ability to know sensory experiences. Chakku Vijnana we call eye consciousness, and then Sota Vijnana, then Gana Vijnana, Jivha Vijnana, Kaya Vijnana, and Mano Vijnana. When we talk about the 5 senses and their consciousness Vijnana, they are easily understood. But when it comes to Mano Vijnana, it's deep. Basically, we need to go to the Abhidhamma to talk about Bhavanga Chitta to understand the Mano Vijnana. But basically understand that without Mano Vijnana, the eye consciousness, ear consciousness, nose consciousness, tongue consciousness, and body consciousness never work. So in a simple term, there is mind to work these senses, 5 senses. So basically Vijnana is, or the consciousness is, being able to get things that comes through senses. For example, I have 2 eyes and you have 2 eyes. And then when we see the computer, the screen, your name, that message is well received by the eyes, and the physical, the eye cannot do that. The part of the mind has to go to the eye and accept that input, and the part of the mind that accept that outer colors or whatever is called Vijnana. So the Vijnana's duty at the door of senses is to accept those outside things. Technically speaking, what we see from our physical eye is only colors, shapes. Then Vijnana is taking those information as they are, and let the mind to do let the mind does other activities to make a full idea of it. So basically my effort is here is to explain you what Vijnana basically is. Vijnana is the ability of our mind to, I use this word recognize, because then you understand it well, but the word recognize is also used for sanya, but I use this word here just to make the point. So the ability of our mind to recognize colors, sounds, taste, smell, and touch is called Vijnana. So this Vijnana, do you understand, is always arising, because our eyes, nose, tongue, body, and mind, through these 5 doors, our mind is taking information at every time when we use them. Therefore, friends, Buddha said in clear voice, if eyes, nose, tongue, body, and also their respective objects are impermanent, constantly arising and passing, how could Vijnana is permanent? How could Vijnana travels from this moment to next moment? In Venerable monks called Sati's case, Buddha clearly mentioned that Vijnana is categorically explained not as an entity that travels from this life to next life. It is always renewing and making a new one, because every time we open our eyes, we see pictures that is totally different from the immediate previous one. So if eyes and other senses and pictures and other sensory experiences are impermanent, how could Vijnana is permanent? So Buddha talk about Vijnana in that sense in Maha Nidana Sutta, as well as Maha Dukkhakkanda Sutta, Maha Tanha Sankhya Sutta. So friends, Vijnana in Paticcasamuppada is such that that is a production of our mind. That's a part of our mind. So how ignorance and then sankhara come to make the Vijnana? If there is ignorance in mind, the sankhara we do, that the intention we have is muddled, is misguided. So the Vijnana is basically also misguided. And then suppose I seek the computer. If my Vijnana is geared by ignorance, I would say, it's my computer and I don't give it to you. Don't touch my computer, it's my computer. So with Vijnana, actually that idea is coming with feeling, perception, and other things that happens after that immediately. But in order to make the point that about Vijnana, I would say that Vijnana is geared by ignorance and also sankhara, misguided sankhara. So Vijnana could not be right. But Vijnana is innocent in my understanding, because it is a fundamental activity of the senses with the mind. So let's go to the next. Dependent on Vijnana, Nam Rupa arises. Now, Vijnana Pacha Nam Rupa. What are Nam Rupa? Nama is the 5 things of our mind. They are called Vedana, Sanya, Chetana, Passa, Manasika, according to Venerable Sariputta. And Vedana means feeling, and then Vedana Sanya is perception, Vedana Sanya, Chetana, intention, and then Passa. It's not that contact we talk about when we rub 2 hands. It's the contact related to each senses when things happen. And then Manasikara is called thinking. So there are 5 components of Nama, and then Rupa means the 4 elements and derived 4 elements. In a simple term, this is the mental image we create in our mind. So when Vijnana is working or become the cause for Nam Rupa arises together. Let me explain you this from another angle. When I close my eyes, I don't see anything. Let's say I open my eyes. I see my computer, I see the clock, I see the wall, and I see many things, right? When I open my eyes, I said I see many things. So immediately what I see is Rupa. What I see from eyes is Rupa. Conventionally, it is a computer. But for me, it is a Rupa when you talk about Nam Rupa. In my picture, in my mind, the shape of the computer, the color of the computer is pictured immediately. So that is Rupa, Rupaskanda, not only one picture. For a second, the mind creates 1,000 and 1,000 pictures. So that Rupa is there, then there is no time gap. When mental image is created in mind with regard to the outside object I see, Vedana, feeling, Sanya, perception, then Chetana, intention, Passa, contact, and Manasikara have arisen immediately. So when Rupa is arisen in mind, the 5 components Nam also arisen. Otherwise, the mind never recognizes this is a computer. This is a Rupa. When the mind is alive and take pictures, Nama factors come into a life. So Vijnana Pachya Nam Rupa, the beginning of whole thinking process start from when senses recognizes their sensory, when sensor receive the particular sensory experiences and consciousness arise, meeting of these 3 is called contact, and inside contact, feeling, perception, intention, manasikara, everything come into play. As a result, again, in another order, Buddha talks about feeling and perception arise. And when feeling and perception is there is I making, my making, and full-fledged idea is created. So friends, our effort is to clear you how this, how the relationship between Vijnana and Nama. So Vijnana, without Vijnana, there is no Nama Rupa. And without Nama Rupa also, there is no Vijnana. They are working together, they are working as reverse and forward order. But for the moment, just understand, without Vijnana, no Nama Rupa. Nama Rupa I explain as Rupa, Patavi, Apo, Tejo, are the 4 elements, and they are derived element, which is the mental image, which is the image we create in our mind. For example, if we talk about Eiffel Tower, so now the picture of Eiffel Tower is in your mind. Let's talk about your dead father or mother. Their pictures are in your mind. Let's talk about Antarctica. So it is in your mind. Let's talk about cricket. Let's talk about football. Let's talk about Russia. With these with these words, we have an image in our mind. How could that happen? Because here you don't see the Eiffel Tower in front of Eiffel Tower. With my words, through ears, you create the picture Eiffel Tower in your mind. There were pictures, images a lot about Eiffel Tower, and you drag all these experience into the present moment. With my words, you hear it and you create a new consciousness. You had a new consciousness with my words, and then you created other Nama, and for the Rupa you had through new ear consciousness. Friends, unless you think about this personally, taking so much time, I don't think you get the point. But I'm pretty sure that many people in this group understand what I say. Perhaps they would explain better than I do, because it's subtle. Then Nama Rupa Pacha Salayatana. Name and form, or mind and matter, or Nama Rupa, become the cause for Salayatana to arise. What are the Salayatana? Chakku Ayatana. Eye is as a base, and ear base, tongue base, nose base, body base, and mind base. They are called base, Ayatana. In a base, you don't have only one particular thing. Couple of things happen at the same time. Basically, let me explain you the function of the bases. Actually, what happened in the base, eye base, is seeing as a function. When you talk about the eye base, you have this physical eye there, and then you talk about the respective object come to eye, and you talk about the mental participation of the in the eye called consciousness, and the meeting of these three also happen in the base. So basically, function of seeing, function of hearing, function of tasting, function of smelling, function of touching, and function of thinking happens in the Salayat. So Nama Rupa arises in Salayatana. Because of that, Salayatana is going to manifest. Let me explain you this example. The man and woman, the man and the woman come together and relationship, and they provide the opportunity for the son or daughter to be born and come out this world as the son and daughter. It is true that the man and the woman, as the father and the mother, made the thing for the son or daughter to come to this world. When the baby is born to this world, they are crowned as mother and father. Until then, they are just husband and wife. They are just man and woman. But when the baby come out to the world through the womb, then that woman and that man get the title called father and mother. We see from an external point of view that the mother and the father made the things first for the baby to come, but in my understanding, two things happened at the same time. When the mother delivered the baby, she immediately became the mother, and the man also turned into fatherhood. The baby's birth and as well as naming the father and mother happens at the same time. Like that, friends, when Nama Rupa arises, Salayatana has come into existence. When Salayatana is working their function, they also create Nama. Anya Manya Paticcasamuppada. We talk about this link over and over again, forward, one after the other help each other. The Nama Rupa become the cause for Salayatana to arise, and Salayatana again make all the possibilities for Nama Rupa to arise. And Vijnana arise there also. So they are working together, they are arising together. That's why I call Samupada, arising together and passing away together. Paticca means, I explain you the meaning of the Paticcasamuppada in the first week. Paticca is reason or cause. Sang means together. Uppada means arising. When we talk about arising together, we need to understand passing away also happen together. We don't need to mention it there, it's implied. So friends, when Nama Rupa, the five Nama and also Rupa arise together with the support of Vijnana and other things, Salayatana arises. Salayatana Pacha Paso, we come to the next one too, because we need to discuss them in length and quicker. Dependent on Salayatana, there is Pasa. Salayatana Pacha Paso. So I told you, and you of course well aware of this fact, that Pasa is not this contact. Phassa is not this, not only this contact. Phassa is mainly meeting of the three important activities in creating ideas: senses, sensory experiences, and mental participation of that process called vijnana. Meeting of these three is called phassa. This is a significant link because in a dead body, we don't find this. Even if the dead body has eyes, ears, the nose, tongue, and the whole body, there is no phassa. This phassa happens because consciousness is left from that body. There is no mind in that body. So even with eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, and their respective things around the dead body, nothing happened. No contact at all happened because it is gone. So therefore, you can understand that contact, phassa, the very Pali word, is rich than the English word. Phassa is the hub of creating many things, and that happens in the salai. I think things are clear to you so far. If not, we can have a discussion on each links. So now, phassa pacca vedana. Phassa pacca vedana. When phassa is there, the being takes pleasant or unpleasant or neutral feeling. Actually, it is also constructed and projected automatically. If the, we never plan to have pleasant feeling, we never plan to have unpleasant feeling and neutral feeling. They come into existence due to the contact, due to the nature of contact, due to the nature of salayatana, and so forth. Right? What I mean here is that suppose we go out now and it's too cold, no jacket, no head cover, no scarf, no nothing. We go out and we feel cold. It is unpleasant. There is an idea that if we go out without any protective clothes, we become we feel cold and we feel unpleasant feeling. But it happens when we go out, right? So unpleasant feeling arises whether we like it or not because of necessary conditions for it. And when necessary condition arises for pleasant feeling, it arises. Suppose you run back inside the house, you open the door and came out and you feel now warm temperature. You go to a ventilator or a heater closer to it, and then you feel now better. So you feel pleasant feeling. So when causes and conditions for pleasant warm feeling, there is that pleasant feeling. So feeling arises because of the condition presented previously in the links. So friends, it is up to the being who own these feeling, who have this feeling, to attach to it, to hang on to it, to take it as mine, or to reject it, or to fight with that. So up to from vijnana to vedana, all the functions happen for all living beings, from hell to divine highest Brahman realm, if we talk about the realms, and from ordinary, Putujjana to the Buddha, these things happen. Vijnana is there for the Buddha, was there for the Buddha, and Namarupa, Salayatana, Phassa, Vedana, and even ordinary people, even Arahants. But the reaction from the Buddha and the Arahants and other enlightened beings towards these links is different totally. But they have these vijnana, Namarupa, Salayatana, Phassa. We'll talk about the difference of the Buddha and enlightened beings from the others. But anyway, what I want to make the point, what I want to say is is that Vedana arises depending on Phassa. So in order to end suffering, we have to understand these links. Then you might argue that how could some people who never read about any discourse come to the Buddha? They were farmers, they were poor people, never went to school for even to learn Triveda at the time of the Buddha. They became Sotapanna, they became Sakudagami, Anagami, and Arhants also. How could they achieve such experience without having those theoretical knowledge? Friends, even if they did not go to colleges, schools, and education system at that time, they had some previous experience from previous practices, so that Buddha was able to give the proper tips for them to look at their mind. Actually, what they did in attainment to enlightenment while listening, they were able to take the points, tips from the Buddha or any Arahants or any disciples, and they look at their mind, they look at the way the mind is created from those lens of that, so that they see the consciousness, they see the mind as it is, they see how consciousness arises and passes away immediately, then respective links of the Paticamuppada arises there, so that they realize that there is no permanent being, only some steps, processes, units are taking place in this person, so that they destroy the I, me, and myself by seeing this process of the mind, right? You don't need to go to a school, you don't need to go to university, you don't need to have a PhD for that. You should have the clear mind, perfect mind to see that. So when the Buddha delivered the Dhamma, the gradual teaching of the Buddha, those people were able to be mindful about it. Sati is there for them. And then the wisdom faculty, has arisen with that, so that they have another important quality to hold mindfulness and wisdom, that is called virya. So they were able to have these three important qualities in their mind while listening, so that they could stop the flow of craving, the flow of suffering. That's how they ended up their suffering cycle. So friends, in order to stop suffering, we definitely should know our mind. And if we are able to know this step-by-step progressive nature of creating I and the person, that is perfect, right? So then Vedana Pacchaya Tanha, it is decided by the perception you have about you, as I said. If you know that this mind and body are two processes, without I, me, and myself, you could have a great chance to stop creating very rough, very tough, very fundamental, I, me, and I, me, myself making. In other words, a wrong view could stop about you when you know how you make your life. So Tanda, to play like that, there is ignorance. As I said, ignorance is linked to each and every step of the dwelling. So Tandha is playing a big role for craving to arise. Without ignorance, the feeling is not taken as me and myself. In other words, feeling is not perceived as pleasant if there is no ignorance. The very person we talk, is taking pleasant feeling as joyful and asad, the very word, so that to him to do that, ignorance is there. In other words, if I do not understand the real construction of this computer, and I would attach to it. But if I know that this is something fragile and it could be breakable, there is a great chance for me to be away from suffering that caused through attachment at the break of the computer, because I know what it is. But if you do not have it, I would argue with the person, I would fight with the person, because computer is mine. So the pleasant idea called it is my computer is created because you take the pleasant feeling, the feeling as I, me, and myself. So in order to stop craving, you have to deal with the feeling. In Passa Mulaka Sutta in Samyutta Nikaya, Buddha talks about this. I'm just thinking about it. Vedana Bhikkave Samo Sabbe Dhamma Samosarana. Yes, each Dhamma elements are because of Vedana. We either attach to things, or we either we like things or dislike things. That is because of the aggregate of feeling. If we do not attach to pleasant feeling, and if we do not fight with unpleasant feeling, and if we are mindful with neutral feeling, of course we never come to a issue in public life as well as in personal life. Mentally and physically, we don't have any problem, because we treat the pleasant feeling as it is. We do not attach to pleasant feeling. So that is how we deal with the pleasant feeling, neutral feeling, and also unpleasant feeling. So tanha is, I would say, cut off momentarily. So when tanha is not there with its full form, there is no upadana. When there is no upadana, there is no birth of upadana. Actually, upadana pacca bhava means upadana pacca bhava means the existence of upadana is called bhava. We call kama bhava, rupa bhava, arupa bhava. There we talk about upadana to kama, upadana to rupa, upadana to bhava. That is called bhava. Kama bhava, rupa bhava, arupa bhava. And then kama tanna, bhava tanna, vibhava tanna. They are all about existence. For example, I suppose I like a movie. Then it's a 1 hour movie. Then I'm watching and I'm in it. While watching, I enjoy the scene. I would like that pleasantness go continues. Right? That is my wish. Suppose somebody come and switch off the TV. I would angry because I needed the pleasant feelings to exist. I needed upadana, that attachment to exist. I need that craving to continue. So friends, bhava in that, with that example, is the existence of your tanha upadana, nothing else. Right? So upadana, if I talk about tanha and upadana, we should talk about them sometime later, because tanha is divided according to senses: rupa tanha, sabda tanha, and rasa tanha, and also for then upadana has been explained in 4 ways: kaupadana, dittupadana, silabhutupadana, attavadupadana, depending on the context. So upadana and tanha has been widely explained by the Buddha with examples in Tanha Sankhya Sutta, and in other suttas. The Buddha talks about tanha very much with examples. Tanha is likened to a grass torch. Tanha is likened to line drawn on the water. Tanha is likened to the bones without flesh. And in many ways, Buddha explained about tanha. So friends, whatever tanha is one category, and it is liking or disliking, basically liking to the feeling. And upadana is hanging on to that liking without stopping. Right? Tanha is momentary. Tanha is liking. Tanha is wanting. Tanha is wishing for. And it's a mental state that could arise one after the other immediately. And upadana, distinguishing tanha from upadana is very significant here. Upadana is the glue-like attachment. I want this. I never go without it. I just want it. Please take it for me, even by killing human beings. I need it. I never go without it. So such statement comes because of upadana. And we have hang on to our ideas. For example, some people talk about politics and economic and cricket and football. I have listened to some talks of some people. They never change their ideas. So hanging on to ideas without changing is an example for upadana, ditthi upadana. So we have views in our mind and we have attached to. These days, people don't like cold winter, right? It's a form of idea. If you understand the nature of elements, Patavi, Apo, Tejo, Vayu, Akas, Vijnana, and you understand then immediately this body is also a collection of 6 elements. And what you have outside as snow and cold is also elements. I don't think that you can bear the cold by having this idea because physical body is working in such a way. But your mental suffering, oh, it is really bad today. I cannot walk. I hate this. You don't say this kind of statement from your mind because you have understood the elements. You have understood other things derived from elements. So you are not having upadana. You do not attach to warm feeling, and you never fed up with cold. It doesn't mean that you go out without jacket. You go, but there is no mental attachment to any type of feel. So friends, upadana is such that you hang on to certain ideas, certain views, certain principles, certain food, certain clothes, certain computers, certain phone, certain people. We can attach to our wife and husband, children, parents, monks. Monks can attach to their teachers. Monk can attach to robes. Monks can attach to Buddha statue. So attachment could happen everywhere if we do not work on craving and feeling and the perception. Some people asked the other day, not in this discussion, why perception is not included in the links. I asked these same questions from you. Where in a couple of minutes, I would end up my one-way explanation, move on to discussion part. So keep that in mind, that why perception is not here by its name. So friends, existence become the cause for Jaati. So when craving, attachment exists over without stopping, without moving, without ending it, it exists. And then if you die with the craving, if you die with the attachment in mind, so your existence is renewing, and you are having a next birth. For the moment, if we forget about the death of a person and rebirth, let's talk about Jaati is happening right now as well. So if you have attachment, if you have craving, your craving and attachment exist and moves from this moment to next moment, right? They are the birth of new thoughts, the birth of this body into new as a re-becoming process is called Jaati. So Jaati, we talk about upata or Jaati with the convention, birth of a child, birth of a cow, birth of a bird, birth of a snake, and so forth. We can talk about that as well. And the birth is momentary too. Birth of feeling, birth of perception, birth of thoughts, birth of body. This body is arising and passing of its own. Each particles of this body passed away and arise. Right? So that is also birth. And birth of new ideas with views, wrong views, and views even pleasant, can create Jati Pacha Chara Maranang Soka Parideva. There would be suffering, there would be Soka Parideva, Dukkha Domana Supayasa, due to birth of craving, due to birth of attachment, and due to existence that is included, craving and attachment. So friends, Paticcasamuppada, understanding of Paticcasamuppada to end dukkha is happening when only we work on our mind, and there we see a rising of all these subtle things, and the feeling is one place to break the chain. And the tanha, upadana, they are easy point in my view to get to break the links, the break the chain of some. Some people, because tackling with vinyana, namrupa, salayatana, pasa, they are happening very fast. But one may feeling better than the other things. See, because this process is so fast. Normal human mind cannot, identify ignorance, sankara, vinyana, namrupa, salayatana, pasa, as they arise, because they are very fast. But when we have pleasant feeling arisen, when we have unpleasant feeling that is already arisen, we can see it clearly. It is existing in our mind for some time. Then we see the attachment. We see problem arising through attachment and craving. So we can work on that. So ignorance about craving, attachment, upadana, bhava, jati should be noticed well if we are mindful. So friends, I just want to stop my presentation so that you take your time for you to contribute. So please take your time now. It's we have nearly 25 minutes for this one-to-one conversation on Paticcasamuppada in ending dukkha, suffering. Anyone? Yes, as usual, please.
No, since there's no one coming in, so I thought I'd just start the conversation. Now, when you talk about the first, like last time we did avidya pacha sankara, sankara pacha vinyana. Now, this vinyana, I believe, is a mano vinyana because vinyana pacha namarupa. So there is a contact made already there because the namarupa already has contact. So that's why when you expand namarupa, we have vedana chetana phassa manasikara, like the 5 things we talk about. So it is the mind consciousness and mind contact making sanya, vedana, chetana, and manasikara is the attention, and that creates another cycle. Already the salayatana kicks in, so that our eyes already at the background behind this is already happening because our ignorance, we don't know. The thought process is already, I think there's a scientific terminology, I don't want to get there, but let's stick to this. I think last time I just briefly mentioned. So anyway, so this is happening. So I guess salayatana, once the ayatana start working, then again another cycle of phassa, vedana, sanya. So it's like a kind of 2 cycles already happening at that stage. And then obviously your main pull is vedana. Vedana is the pull for vedana pacha tanha. Tanha, the main pull for tanha, craving, as the second noble truth. That is where I can get rid of the craving. So that's where the main pull is. And for your question you asked about why sanya is not mentioned, because sanya is, I guess, when you look at another sutra called Madhupindika Sutra, they talk about when you feel, you perceive. When you perceive, you think about. So it's not a direct relationship. So when you feel, the feeling proceeds to perception. When you perceive, then you start thinking about sankhara. So it's a direct link is, I guess, for tanha, craving, is the vedana, sapa, dukkha, whatever effects are. Even dukkha vedana, I guess, again, you reject something, again, you keep rejecting. There might be some sort of like weird sort of craving to what you don't like. Not only what you like, what you don't like, there's just keep saying, I don't like, I do. So it's a kind of a, then you again, there is upadana on that aspect. So upadana is a thought process. It is when you cling with your thoughts. There are no hands in the mind. So upadana is clinging with your thoughts, like continuous cycles of like prapanya, like thinking about over and over again. Does it make sense? I don't know whether
Yeah,
I'm
indeed.
confused.
Yeah, no. For me, it's clear, and we don't know whether other gets clear ideas from our presentation. Yeah, what you said is true. There are a couple of cycles when we talk about vijnana. We have Buddha has talked about it as a full link, and when it comes to nam rupa, actually vijnana pacha nam rupa, so they work. It's a full cycle between vijnana and nam rupa. It's one full cycle. That is why the Buddha recollect about the Vipassana Buddha and other Buddhas about their full enlightenment. In a number of suttas in Samyutta Nikaya, Buddha look at the Bodhisattva look at with perfect mindset, with samadhi. He look at how the other enlightened beings did this. Actually, the Buddha himself recollected that. Then Bodhisattva started from Paticcasamuppada, from Jaramarana, and why Jaramarana is there? Because of Jaati. Jaati is there because of Bhava, and the link goes up to Salayatana and Namrupa, and there it stops. So that's why I reconfirm that one cycle is there between Vijnana and Namrupa. And as you said, when it comes to Salayatana, actually another important process is being started there. In my personal understanding, it is one of the places we can focus with our mindfulness to see how the process is going, and also if one to break it, there is a breaking point. If you take a stick, suppose that in places where branches is produced, it is difficult to break because they are very strong. But if you find places of the stick where there is no small knot like things and branches, you can easily break it. Suppose if you take a bamboo, small bamboo, not big one, you cannot break it from those points like this. They are very heavy, but you can break it in the middle. Like that, in these 12 links, we have some cycle. In the big cycle, there are small cycle, and from those places, for mindful people to and wise people to break it. In one cycle between Vijnana and Namrupa, and then in the Salayatana with Pasa and Vedana. So definitely that is really, really good to talk, because by doing that, we can understand that there are places we can focus. And as you said, of course, I agree with that Tanha, Upadana, and their mental state. You hang on to views, ideas. Suppose I attach to, let's say, you and others in this group. I never touch your body. I never touch your computer. I never come to your house to attach to you. But by the idea of this person, that person, and his beauty of his beauty is my mind. So I create an idea, full-fledged idea, and I attach to it. That's called Ditthi Upadana. And Kam Upadana, all Upadanas are there. So that is beautiful. And existent Jaati, actually Jaati, when we talk about Jaati, we talk about birth of beings, at the same time birth of ideas, birth of new views, birth of craving, birth of new craving, and it could happen in that way too. Because when a person attains to arahantship, it's called what you call Kina Jati, Vusitang Brahmacharya. So let's hang on to the word Kina Jati. It means Jati is gone. But the person who attained to arahantship is talking, walking for Pindapata, and talking to others. What happened there? So it means that his his existence, his continuation as a human being is gone, and the possibility of rebecoming or punabhava is gone. That's what we call Kina Jati. Next birth into any state is gone. So that when arahants end up their Jaati by understanding everything means they end up their mind with craving, attachment, and upadana, and that sort of thing is done. Therefore, there is no soka, no parideva, nothing at all after that, even physically and mentally.
Yes,
So
Bhante, I think the arahat, I believe there is no spontaneous, because there is no ignorance, there is no spontaneous formation, because there is no ashrava, there is no vijapa, no sankhara spontaneously. Obviously, they can think, they can generate sankhara, but doesn't mean at the background this is not generating. I think they are poised starting with salayatana, and they kind of stop at pasa. That's what I guess when Buddha said to Daryachira, Bahya Daryachira, and another monk, Ditte Matang, when you kind of stop maybe at the pasa stage there without going further beyond to the Vedana. What do you think of that? Like, because that person has quite developed the mind a lot, right? The Bahya. And there's a short discourse. He said, Ditte Matang. So when you see, you only see. Right? In other words, that's when you see, you only see is at pasa level that you are already seeing, but there is no more, you're going further beyond that. Does it mean that it's a method of stopping? That's why I think then the Burmese tradition started this noting technique. I see, I hear. I think they kind of came through that, I think, sutra, kind of a expansion of that sutra, Ditte Ditta Mata. So what do you think of that idea?
I think you're right, because if we can stop passa, the continuation of all these things from passa, if we can stop that, I think that is equal to ditte dittamata, because you cannot stop working your seeing, hearing, tasting, smelling, because since you have these 5 senses and 6 senses, salayatana, you have to see things from mind, you have to smell, you have to taste. We cannot do anything for that process, but you can stop past that linkage to other feeling and way, sanha and so forth on pasa. When pasa happen, we understand that's only pasa, that's only seeing, hearing, tasting, and the problem is solved there. I think that is quite similar to what Buddha said in that what is this called?
Bahya
Sutta. Yes. Yeah, that's it.
Maha, I think Malukya Putra Sutta was the same thing.
Yeah,
two,
yeah. So that is true, and if we can stop there, that is perfect, and the problem is solved. Yeah. So thank you very much, and I have a question from a friend Purnima. So let me read that question first. Bhante, you spoke of the cold weather. How do you explain if someone doesn't complain or get upset by looking at the positive side of the things? Example, cold weather is better than having a tornado, earthquakes. Please explain. That's very good. Yeah, that's we can do a lot with comparison. When you have fever, you can say that I don't have a cancer, so compared to cancer patient, I'm better than them. So you somehow manage to have positive thinking, either by comparing things outside or inside. Suppose you were you had a bad thought yesterday and it was in your mind all the time yesterday, but you don't have it today, and tomorrow you will be better than today. Next day you will have that thought again. So this is how the life goes. How about if we think that there are some days that I had pleasantness, peace, happiness, and there are a number of days so compare your life depending on the past experiences, and you see that life is a cycle. So when you understand that life is a cycle, why do we worry about when you have unpleasantness? Because we know the fact that this unhappiness is gone and happiness come again, right? Actually, not going to deeper understanding of what is impermanent and so forth, we can look at the outer world, change of the weather, change of the colors of things, change of different attitudes of people, we can make our mind peaceful into a certain extent. As you suggested in your question, yes, it is the cold weather is better than the heat. When you have cold weather, you can cover your body, right? You can have couple of layers of clothes and have, head cover, ear covers, and have good winter boots, and be careful when you walk. So a problem is gone. But if you have heat up to 60, 70 degrees, what can you do? What can you do? I think the chances of being happy in the winter is much more than the hot weather. So I always tell people that take it as nature, because the warm weather is because of cold weather. And if not cold weather comes, how could warm weather comes? Because they are interdependent, right? I think comparison makes a great deal for us, but do not go to compare yourselves to others just to say how beautiful you are and how good you are with your knowledge. And there are bad comparison and as well as good comparison too. So yeah, a lot of people understand the impermanence by seeing the dead leaves, and by seeing the sun rising and sun setting, by seeing other changes of this life. But the impermanence of in the Buddha's teaching is much more deeper than that. Impermanence, as the Buddha talk about, is about the rising and passing of feeling, perception, mental formation, consciousness, rupa, nam rupa, and that sort of thing. So in order to see the impermanence in a subtle level, you have to see your own mind. That is what the Buddha talk about. But changing of color of leaves, changing of different things outside world could be the beginning of understanding. So as you suggest, compare the cold weather is better than freezing, freezing cold weather is better than tornado. Yeah, but what happened to you if tornado comes to you, right? You can see that tornado is not a sudden occurrence. Of course, it is a sudden occurrence, but we are very much advanced to know them early. Except some natural disasters, we are to know each and every, even the Buddha's time, even the time where there is no technology, people came to know about natural disasters well before they happen, except some. So they are also happening due to causes and conditions, and we have measures to take on, right? Even at the worst scenario, we can think that if I'm not going to die, it's okay. When problems come to you, compare it to your very dangerous, very bad experience, possible experience. For example, if something happened to me, I always say that, oh, it does not cause me to die, so that it's okay. When I was doing my master's, I had a very tough time with professors because they think that I am, because some students ask questions about Buddhist psychology and from me, not the professor. Then the professor is jealous about me. And they gave hard time to me with papers I wrote, and they wanted me to change certain things. I know that they are up to the point. So then I thought, what they can do is reducing my credits. That's all they can do. But they cannot fail me from receiving a degree. So when I thought about that at that moment, I am peaceful because I have nothing to gain except the degree. I don't want to fight with anyone. I don't want to go beyond other students. What I want was the passing my paper. So that's all. Then my attitude was peaceful, so that the professors thought that this man is not getting angry. This man is not fighting back. So at the end, they came to me as friends, and at the end, everything is so. So friends, when something negative happened, think that that is not the end of life. Even if it is end of life, it's fine, because you are going to have a next birth, in my view. Suppose your parents, your loved ones are old and cannot work as before, their senses are dying one after the other. I'm not telling you, I'm not admiring death, but things happen. And I consider about my parents, they are around 78, 77. And what I have told them that you have done a lot of good things, and making me as a monk is one of the greatest thing you did. And you do your own meditation, you listen to them, you have been a perfect life so far. So don't worry about dying. It is a moment of your life. What you have experiencing most in your life is old age and sicknesses. And consider that this is not because of anything, but because you are you came to this life. And when the life ends, just keep your mind on these factors. I told my parents over and over again, and they are not fearful about it. This is the same thing we do. I don't know how they experience the situation when it comes to them, but for the moment, they are pretty okay. And one of my brothers passed away when he was 42 by an accident. He was in the army, and he was in the army for 22 years. He was in each operations, did with the LTD, and nothing happened to him. But after 2 months of his retirement in 2017, he died by a small accident. Then I went to Sri Lanka to participate in the funeral, because that is the first death of my family. So my parents never cried, because they understood that things were there for their son to die. And when one sees the causes and condition of a particular death, what is the use of crying? And crying doesn't make any sense. If you have strong attachment, you might cry. Let them cry. Let people cry if they have attachment. Don't ask anyone to stop crying, because they cry because of fuel for cry, because of reasons for cry. But if you really see the whole scenario of life and mind and how being come into exist, you are not going to cry. There is nothing for you to cry. So your question is really true. You have answered the question, and you have, of course, you have answered the question in the question itself. So if you compare that this is better than that, this is better than this. So up to certain level of you are thinking you can get benefit from it. But at certain point, we have to stop comparison and see the real truth of mind and body. Thank you for your question written in the chat inbox. Any contribution? Yes.
This is not related to the Participant. I think you mentioned one thing. Some people, when listening to Dhamma, reciting Dhamma or teaching Dhamma, they become enlightened. You mentioned that during your session, right? So I think this is called the Pancha Vimukta Yatana Sutra. So there are 4 ways by listening, while reciting, while teaching, I guess, and finally, I guess it is by meditation. So anyway, all the first 4, I think what they are directing is the mind becomes so blissful. I think they are attaining some sort of jhana state, because they are priti, sukha. So I think from jhana, so it's like more like it's enlightenment, say release, not discernment release, awareness release type of situation there. Whereas the last one, probably more discernment release through insight. But the others, they don't have a whole lot of insight, but they through the jhanic state, and they develop insight because of this, the great saddha they have for the Dhamma while they are reciting, listening. They may have develop some sort of meditation techniques before, parami, whatever. But at that point, I think the sutra talks about the mind becomes serene. I think that's probably they get into spontaneous jhana states, and therefore eventually they does it make sense?
Yeah, of course it is related to. And while you are talking, I grabbed the sutta from So it says, mendicants, there are these 5 opportunities for freedom. This is Bhikkhu Sujato's translation. If a mendicant stays diligent, keen, and resolute at this time, their mind is freed, their defilements are ended, and they arrive at supreme sanctuary. What 5? First, the teacher or a respected spiritual companion teaches the Dhamma to a mendicant. That mendicant feels inspired by the meaning and the teaching in that Dhamma, no matter how the teacher or a respected spiritual companion teaches it. Feeling inspired, joy spring up, being joyful, rapture spring up. When the mind is full of rapture, the body becomes tranquil. When the body is tranquil, one feels bliss. And when blissful, the mind becomes immersed in samadhi. This is the first opportunity for freedom. If a mendicant can't stays diligent, keen, and resolute at this time, their mind is freed. If a mendicant stays diligent, keen, and resolute at this time, their mind is freed, their defilements are ended, and they arrive at the supreme sanctuary. So as you said, yes, look at the first one. As you said, you have piti, first phamojja, then piti, then passaddhi, then sukha, then samadhi. Samadhi, with all these previously said mental state, is the perfect mindset to see the things as they are. So there you ended up defilement, right? This is while listening to the Buddha or someone who says the Dhamma in a perfect way. And the second one will say, furthermore, it may be that neither the teacher nor a respected spiritual companion teaches the Dhamma to a mendicant, but the mendicant teaches the Dhamma in details to others as they learn and may memorize it. That mendicant feels inspired. Now, we are to suppose Dr. Piali is explaining Dhamma, he himself, you yourself think about what you feel with what you say, and you are inspired. And then you have pamojja, piti, passaddhi, sukha, samadhi. While you teach, you observe your mind, and there with perfect samadhi, you break off those defiled states. That is the second moment. Third one, but the mendicant recites the teaching in details as they learn and memorize it. That mendicant feels inspired by the meaning and the teaching in that Dhamma. So no matter how they recite it in details as they learn and memorize it. Feeling inspired, joy spring up, being joyful. So while you are listening to chanting, because chanting makes mind concentrated, so that you get pamojja, piti, sukha, samadhi. So remember this thing. You have to understand the atta patisangvedam. You have to understand what it means and how that insightful Dhamma is affected to you. You have to make that connection in order to feel joy, in order to feel blissful, and so forth. So then that is the third one. First one is while the Buddha or any monk or any layperson teaches, you listen to and make the changes of your mind. And the second one, while you are teaching, you observe your mind, you observe all these things. And the third one, while the Buddha or any person recite, you listen to it and do the changes. And the fourth one, the mendicant thinks about and consider the teaching in their heart, examine it with the mind as they learn and memorize it.
It's a contemplation.
Contemplation, yeah. It's a kind of form of wise attention, evaluation, analyzing, and so on. Then the last one is, it may be that neither, let me read that particular part. A mendicant subject as a foundation of immerse in, the mendicant feels, mendicant subject as a foundation of immersion is properly grasped, attended, born in mind. It means we take karmasthana and sit and meditate. So as you rightly said, of course, and in each occasion we should have samadhi well supported by piti, pamojja piti, pasaddi sukha. Because in samadhi we have all these things. That's why in the first jhana we have piti, piti sukha, ekaggata sahita, with rapture and pleasure and one pointed. So in the samadhi we have all these things. So definitely yes, the daruchirya and even Kondanya, Asaji, and Upatisa Kolita, they were listening to some Buddha or the others, and they were able to get these perfect samadhi quality in mind, and through that they break through to enlightened state.
And again, I think Anguttara Nikaya 9 says I don't remember the exact number. First jhana alone is enough. You don't have to go through the second, the third, the fourth. The minimum jhana you need, I guess, for enlightenment is just first jhana. It's interesting. Like, I mean, of course, you can go through the other rupa jhana, arupa jhana necessary, but it's interesting. Just minimum.
Yeah, in the Attakanagara Sutta, Venerable Ananda clearly mentioned that because the person actually it happens just after the Buddha's parinirvana. The person called Attakanagara was in a business tour, and Venerable Ananda was close to actually Kusinara, close to Pataliputta. So this person came to meet the Venerable Ananda. So Venerable Ananda said, this is in the commentary to that Attakanagara Sutta. So Venerable Ananda said that Buddha has shown us a couple of windows to enlightenment. And one is just first jhana is enough. When you attain to first jhana, you investigate the jhanic experiences as anicca dukkha anatta. So vipassana observation is done when you attain to first jhana. So there you have the breakthrough.
Thank you, Bhante.
Yes. All right. So if anyone is there to contribute with the questions or explanation or any experience also, please take time. Otherwise, we'll end up the sutta discussion today from with these things we discussed so far. Okay, it seems to me that that's all for today. I think people, even if they have questions, they consider about the time. Yeah, we follow the Dhamma step by step. You don't need to solve everything within one day. Just, of course, in addition to that, I know the fact that you are very knowledgeable about Dhamma, so that you can have your own answers. And if you have no confusion on what we say, perhaps you don't want to say anything. Perhaps you learn new things. Perhaps you reconfirm what you have known before. Anything is acceptable. Anything is good. And with that in mind, I say, may you all be well, happy, and peaceful. May you all be able to confirm your enlightened states in this very life, at least the first two, Sotapanna or Sakudagami, at least Sotapanna. Even if that is not possible, keep your mind clean and clear, have proper saddha on the Buddha, exactly as the Buddha said to his brother Mahanam, keep your mind with saddha on the Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha, and accept the fact that sila and karma are perfect as the Buddha. This understanding about the five things is enough for you to be a human, great human, and also a divine being who continues the training further ahead. So I wish you blessings, and may you all be well, happy, and peaceful. Sadhu,
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.